Thank you, Bob, for coming into my office and having a nice visit. Thank you for the work that you have done on this committee. Thank you for your good work in behalf of a Kansas legend, a national legend, Senator Dole. Last month, members of the Senate Finance Committee met with Mr. Peter DeMauro and Mr. Stephen Greenblatt. They are new members of the new White House Trade Council. They read to us the administration's marching orders for trade. They had 4 goals and 13 policy objectives. Since that meeting, the list has now grown to 24. On this list of goals, agriculture was listed as number 3. Given the rough patch that we are in today, given 16-year low in prices and other considerations, I believe it should be number 1. Mr. Chairman, before asking a question, I would like to submit the administration's list of 24 trade priorities for the record. I think you have the experience, you know this. Most trade agreements I've worked on since I have had the privilege of public service have been over-criticized and they've been oversold, somewhere in between while we try to work it out. But on this list of 24, there are several I could mention, but the one that really stuck out to me, country of origin labeling. That's a tough issue in the Ag Committee and in the agriculture issue list. But we've been down this road before. We fixed the issue of cool in 2015. We don't need to go down that road again. We narrowly escaped about $4 billion, somewhere between $3.5 and $4 billion in retaliatory tariffs against the United States. I do not think we need a constantly changing list of key elements of a model trade agreement. That may be a good thing to talk about if we had time to talk about it. We don't. What we need is a U.S. trade representative confirmed, that's you, and in place who will embark on a robust trade policy, that's you. You have the experience and you have the talent and you have the commitment. Now, the U.S. has withdrawn from TPP, and the President has expressed major concerns with NAFTA. The administration stated it plans to start to negotiate bilateral trade agreements that you referred to. It seems to me that we need to move very quickly. I want to make it very clear to you and to the administration, agriculture must be a key part of these conversations. When I met with you last January, you assured me that you would defend agriculture as trade problems arise. And I would like to remind you that I told you to just take it a step further, be the champion of agriculture from the start so we don't get into these problems. Now, last month, as chairman of the Ag Committee, Senator Stabenow and myself, chaired a field hearing. We had 21 witnesses. Every one brought up the issue of trade. Last year, U.S. exported over $103 billion in agriculture goods. 2016, agriculture exports accounted for approximately 20% of the ag production. Agriculture had a global trade surplus of $20 billion. Understanding the importance that trade has on the agriculture industry and the rough patch we're in, will you be a champion for agriculture and get commodities moving on the global market?
Yes, Senator, I will. I have a long history with agriculture. I worked on it when I was at USTR. As the Senator knows, I negotiated the Reagan administration grain agreement with the Soviet Union in 1983. You'll all recall that President Carter cut off grain sales to the Soviet Union, and President Reagan decided to implement those sales, and I was called on to negotiate that agreement and did do it. My 30 or 40 year contact with Senator Dole is some indication, and I had a variety of very memorable meetings with senators, and it was a joy to go around and meet so many senators and talk to them about the issues that matter to them. But I had one very memorable comment that one senator made, which was, as you go through doing your job, remember that you don't eat steel. And that's something that stuck with me. So I assure you that we will prioritize steel. We will prioritize agriculture, both in terms of maintaining what we have and in terms of getting additional market access.
I can't imagine the senator actually stating that to you. I just can't imagine who that might be. We've got grain on the ground out in Kansas. If we don't sell agriculture commodities over the next several months, we are at a 16-year low in prices. We will have a problem on our hands. We all will have a problem on our hands. If you are confirmed, can you tell us right now what countries you'll be having conversations with to sell not only what our country makes, but also what we grow?
Well, I think that there are a variety of priorities in terms of what our negotiations are, but it's clear that agriculture would have been a beneficiary of TPP. And I think that as we move forward and negotiate new agreements, we have to go to those countries among others. And I would list, of course, Japan as being a primary target for a place where increased access for agriculture is important. It is hard for me to understand why we tolerate so many barriers to agriculture trade when America is the #1 producer of agriculture products. We are the best in the world, and if you believe really in trade and market efficiency, you just have to believe agriculture should be even more of a positive than it is, and it's market distortions that's keeping that from happening. So I think opening up more markets for agricultural sales is a very high priority for us.
I appreciate that. My time has expired, Mr. Chairman.